Damn!
Yes, I just came from watching the new Wonka movie, and in this video I'm going to be doing a bit of like a breakdown comparison, especially with the original Willy Wonka movie, and telling you, in my opinion, some of the things that this movie did right, some of the things that this movie did wrong. Spoilers ahead, I'm going to be spoiling mainly like the first act and the second act of this film. Going to not be so specific with the third act. I'm going to be pointing out a lot of comparisons and telling you just what I think, whether this movie did good or bad. So the first thing that I really liked about this film is that it had a lot of humor elements. There's a lot of humor in the original film. This one also has a lot of really good humor. Like, for example, in this movie, Wonka, Willy Wonka is traveling to a new country where he's starting off a new life, and he's new to the place. So there's this one part where, when it begins with a musical, this movie is a musical, so while he's singing and like he's walking into the town for the first time, there's this part where he like stops to stay at a certain shop, and then a cop rolls up to him and tells him, hey, there's a fine for daydreaming, so if you stand and start daydreaming, there's a fine for that. That was very funny. I like the whole magical fairy tale vibe of this movie. In fact, if this was, I think this movie is by who, Warner Brothers, I would have thought that this is a Disney film, because of just there's a sense of magicalness in this film. Willy Wonka is a magician. I don't remember if in the original film he was depicted as a magician. I know he made some stuff that was doing all sorts of weird stuff, but I don't think he was ever depicted as a magician. This one is a prequel, so when I went into this movie, I thought it was going to be just some soulless rehash of the original, but no, this is a prequel with a younger Willy Wonka. He's much different. In this film, he comes off more as like naive. He's not like the original Willy Wonka, who was willing to let some kid drown or let some kid blow up, if you remember how the original movie was. Here he comes off as naive, very sweet and like innocent-ish. He's very bad at being able to detect that people are about to swindle him. So because he's new in town, he seeks for a room at a building which is a laundromat, and it's owned by some old lady and some generic old evil lady and generic henchman guy. So in this movie, Willy Wonka cannot read, which later on is paid off when he is taught how to read by another female character. He's going to the laundromat to find a room. There's this very long contract he had to sign, and because he can't read well, he ended up being swindled into having to work for this lady. This is a musical, and as a person who does not like musicals, all I can say is that the first, let's say, this movie is what, maybe 1 hour 50 minutes, I think. So in the first, let's say, like 1 hour, the music seems very not very good, in my opinion. I prefer the music of the original film. The music of the original film has more heart, soul, and emotion behind it. There's this one scrub song in this new Wonka film which I didn't really like. Some of the songs felt forced, like they just had to be there simply because it's a musical. The second half of the film had some really good stuff. Like there was this song for A World of Our Own, and there was this one song where when Willy Wonka goes out to sell chocolate for the second time. So that was very good. The villains of this film are cartoonishly evil. So there are 3 dudes who notice that Willy Wonka is going to be a competitor, and they're like a cartel, and they're just cartoonishly evil. Like there's this one dude, when he hears poor people being mentioned, he begins to retch. So I just found that to be cartoonishly evil. This movie walks a fine line between being for kids and being for adults. So if you're wondering, hey, is this going to be good for my kid? It is, and it's also going to be entertaining for you as an adult. So this cartel of 3, they bribe the chief of police, and they tell him that they want Wonka dead because they don't want any competition. In this movie, chocolate is treated like a currency. Someone can be paid in chocolate. In the laundromat, Wonka is not alone. So he was, through the contract, he was duped into working for this lady for, I don't know, for a very long time. I don't know, like 10,000 days or something. He ends up meeting up with other characters who are also duped into working for this evil lady at the laundromat. What Wonka and there's this orphan girl there, her name is Noodle. So Noodle and Wonka decide to trick this lady into falling in love with her henchman, and they basically draw a picture of him and then make him look like an aristocrat. So she has a thing for aristocrats, so she ends up falling in love with the henchman, and it's very funny. So while the two of them are getting their own lovey-doveyness going on, Wonka decides to sneak out, and they have to go to a zoo to get some giraffe milk. Apparently Wonka needs giraffe milk to go and make this special breed of chocolate. I found that to be very weird, giraffe milk. Anyway, sneaking into the zoo, there was this candy that Wonka had to give the guard, the security guard at the gate, and that candy mimics a candy from the original film. So in the original film, there was this candy, if you ate it, it felt like a 3-course meal. Yeah, in the new Wonka film, this 2023 film, there's this piece of candy that if you eat, it imitates like a night out with the boys. So if you eat it, it feels like, like the way when you take drinks, you start by getting tipsy, then you start by becoming friendly, and then you start calling your ex, and then you pass out, something like that. There's a candy like that, and I felt bad for that security guard, because I was like, what if he had decided to go, I don't know, no contact on his ex, and then he ends up calling his ex because he's been drugged by Willy Wonka. Anyway, like I said, the comedy is very funny. Willy Wonka, in my opinion, in this film, in Wonka, is more likable. In the original film, he is likable, but he's the kind of guy, like he'd see some kid running off to do something bad, and he'd be like, oh no, come back.
Hey, get away from that thing!
Stop, don't, come back.
In that film, he came off as like he was willing to let some kid just, I don't know, run into trouble, and he'd do nothing. He also came off as someone who couldn't be trusted. In this one, he's a bit more friendly, he's a bit more sweet. He's also what I like to call an active protagonist. An active protagonist is someone who doesn't sit and wait for something to happen to him. He goes out there and makes things happen. So like in the original film, where Charlie, people were like trying to help him get the chocolate bar. I remember it was his grandpa who bought him the first chocolate bar. He didn't have the golden invite. Then the second time he found a coin, right? So I don't know, when I was watching the original film, I wished Charlie would try and get a job to get the money to buy the chocolates or something, because his family was poor anyway. So it would have been nice to see if he could try and get a job as a kid, or a paper route or something, to try and get the money so that he could buy the chocolate. But instead, he was being bought for the chocolate, and he found the coin somewhere in, I don't know, under a manhole or something. Yeah. Anyway, in this film, Wonka is more of an active protagonist, and I really like that. I like the fact that he goes out there and he tries to defy the odds so that he can make his chocolate. Noodle, the orphan that I just talked about, is a great character. In the original film, the kids were not likable. Those kids who won the golden invite, to me, they were not likable, but the kid in this film is likable. I know that in the original film, those kids were not meant to be likable. I know. But, it doesn't change the way I feel that I like the kid character in this one versus I didn't really connect with the others, but I know that they were meant to be terrible. The music in the second hour, in after 1 hour has gone by, is actually really good. I like the fact that this movie also has one Oompa Loompa. So if you're familiar with the original films, there's Oompa Loompa, and here there's only one, just like the Johnny Depp version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In this film, you also get a backstory for the Oompa Loompas. There's also a backstory for the Oompa Loompas in this film, just like the Johnny Depp version. There's this one scene where this Oompa Loompa is stealing from Wonka, and he says, Oompa Loompas do not negotiate, good day. That's a reference to the original film when Charlie asks Willy Wonka, what did I do wrong? And then Willy Wonka won't listen to him. He's chasing him out, and he's like, good day. Yeah, if you watch the original film. Later on in the film, when Wonka, in the modern film, in the 2023 Wonka film, when Willy Wonka has opened his shop, the chocolate gets poisoned, and later on it's revealed that the three evil bad guys, the cartel dudes, they are the ones who managed to get the laundromat lady to poison the chocolate. And the third act of the film becomes very unpredictable, with Willy Wonka trying to steal this ledger from where the bad guys meet up. They have this place where they meet up that's underground under a church, and the priest of the church is played by the dude who plays Mr. Bean. So yeah, the third act of this film becomes very unpredictable, and the ending is quite emotional. I really enjoyed it because Willy Wonka started making chocolate because of his mom. So there's like a very emotional ending right there. In my opinion, this is actually a really good film. I walked in expecting some soulless remake, and I was surprised at how well they did everything. In fact, I think I'd rather rewatch this one than the original, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, nothing can beat the original, but I think I might actually enjoy this one more than the original. But those are just my opinions. Tell me what you thought of this film if you've watched it. I personally, I think I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. I thought he was very good. I thought he was perfect. This younger Wonka is really good, in my opinion. Those are my thoughts. Thanks so much for checking out my review. Tell me what you thought of this film. If you've watched it, I'll leave other reviews that I've done here, and then I'll see you in the next one.